So I'm at the workshop of Mark Dobbins, who builds custom guitars and also does guitar work at Northridge Music.
Yep.
And where else do you work?
Strum shop.
Okay.
I do some repair for Tim's Music on Marconi.
So how long have you been building guitars?
Well, I started about 14 years ago. I built my first one about 14 years ago out of hardwood flooring. I was a flooring contractor at the time. So I took some wood flooring home and decided I was going to build a guitar and started there, and then it turned into this passion.
So Mark, about how many guitars do you build every year?
Well, I was building one or two a year, and now I've kind of, just this last year, I started ramping up, and I'm changing some stuff in my shop, so I want to try to build about eight or nine guitars this year, and maybe 8 or 9 a little more ukuleles.
Do you build them based on requests from people, or just out of the goodness of your heart to build guitars?
Right now I have one that I'm building for a customer, and I'm building one ukulele on commission, and the rest of these are what I call festival instruments. They're just my design, and I'm building them, and I'm taking to the Reno Acoustic Festival and hoping to sell them there.
Tell me about that festival. When is that?
It is April 12th and 13th. Mandolins, guitars, banjos, ukuleles, any stringed instrument that the luthiers want to bring up and try to sell and show.
And where are they going to have it?
At the Golden Nugget in Reno.
Okay.
Or it's actually in Sparks.
Okay. And Mark, you're a musician yourself. Tell me about your musical background.
I started playing guitar when I was about 10. My dad had a friend that built banjos and played in a bluegrass band, and he would have them over to my house when I was little, and they would play bluegrass music in my living room, mandolin, banjo, and guitar, and I got hooked watching those guys and wanted to play the guitar. And then my mom and dad bought me a Silvertone Sears and Roebuck guitar for Christmas that year, and that started me, and been doing it ever since.
I understand the banjo actually came from Africa, and it was used in early Appalachian folk music before the Grand Ole Opry took off in the 1920s. I was just curious if you had heard much about that history and what it's like to build a banjo in contrast with a guitar.
Yeah, banjos are a different animal. I haven't tried to build a banjo yet. I've done some work on them. I've done some repairs on them and stuff, but I haven't really tried to build a banjo yet. Banjo has a lot more hardware on it, metal parts that I don't have a milling machine or stuff to kind of do that metal work. But
as far as the work you do, which is guitars, mandolins, and ukuleles, what do you find the most complex, and what is the easiest to build?
Well, the ukes are fairly easy to build. The acoustic guitars are the most complex. Electric guitars are a little more simple than an acoustic.
Really? Why? Because it doesn't have the sound hole and the actual...
Yeah, you're working with solid pieces of wood on most of them, unless you build an arch top. But you know, you're routing for pickups, and most of the sound is from the electronics.
So then, but the wood still has to be done right, doesn't it? And the frets have to be perfect.
Right. The setup work, the fret work. The fret work is some of the most detailed and most important part of the building process. If you can build a beautiful guitar, if you can't do good fret work, it doesn't play. It
won't sound as good, huh?
Yeah.
Is it because the mathematical aspect of music, it has to be perfectly mathematically engineered correctly?
Well, there is no perfect guitar, and there is no perfect intonation on a guitar. you try to get it as close as you can, but the tempered scale, there's no such thing as perfect intonation on a tempered scale on a stringed instrument.
Right, especially a violin, right?
Yeah, it's impossible to achieve.
That's very interesting. Well, we'll talk more about this in a few more segments. Thank you very much, Mark.